What's up, Broncos country? We are here with another edition of Tailgate Talk here at the Orange Weekly Broadcast Network. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. I am David. You know me. As you know, hopefully I'll be joined by some other guests this afternoon. But we will be having our weekly Tailgate Talk as per usual, guys. Big game week 5 against the Raiders at home. Broncos busting out those throwback uniforms once again. It's not once again, for the first time. Should look really, really good no matter how it goes. But of course, it doesn't matter how good the uniforms look if the team on the field doesn't look good, right? So let's hope they can go out there, specifically Bo Nix in this offense, can go out there and do a really good job, or at least take a step forward from what we saw in that Jets game, right? There's going to be no excuse from the weather perspective. The rain is there's nowhere to be found here in Denver. It's a beautiful day. You're going to be in the high 70s. So, yeah, you hopefully want to see Bo Nix go out there and perform a little bit better. Thank you so much for joining us, guys, to Tailgate Talk with Orange Weekly here. And we are with you every single week before the game. Terry, thank you so much for showing up. Absolutely, I'm with you. Love these new uniforms. But now it is time to see what you can do against this Raiders defense, right? And against this Raiders offense. Guys, I don't know if you all listen to the Pregame Podcast. You should check that out every single week, everywhere that you can get your podcasts. But we think that there's a real matchup advantage for this Broncos defense, specifically against this Raiders offense with no Davante Adams playing. Again, thank you so much for joining, guys. Comment, give us your questions. Give us, what are you thinking about this Raiders game? What are your fears? What are your thoughts? What are your hopes? I want to hear from you, as we always do here on the Orange Weekly Show. But yeah, guys, I think there is a real opportunity specifically against this Raiders offensive line to pressure Gardner Minshew into making some mistakes. I'm really, really hoping that we can get some turnovers this game. Hell yeah, Gary, go Broncos. Man, don't you guys love Raiders Week? It's especially at home, right? With these new throwback uniforms that we've got going on, it's the stadium's going to be loud. It is going to be rocking today. I expect some false starts on the Raiders, some other kind of offensive penalties in that regard, some forced timeouts, because I expect this crowd to be raucous. Guys, again, leave your comments, leave your questions. Tell me what you're thinking about Raiders Week as I welcome a new member. Old member. Orange Weekly Podcast. Jared, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad I got to be back for this Raiders week. And we are T-minus 1 hour from watching the Broncos break this stupid streak that I keep hearing about. At first, it was that Kansas City Chiefs streak that we broke last year. And now it's this Raiders. But hey, we're here to break it. And I think this is, if there's going to be a time, it's today.
It's got to be today. I'm so done with this. I can't believe we beat that Chiefs streak last year and almost beat them twice, frankly, and just couldn't get past the Raiders either time. So yeah, I'm thrilled that we have, it looks like, our best chance, specifically our best defense that we've had against the Raiders in years, to take them on. And once again, Jared, we've been talking about the uniform matchup because, man, people are loving it. I think the mojo's on our side.
Man, and it's not just Broncos country that's loving it. It is like across the board. People are loving the fact that we're bringing back the 1997 or was 19 what
1977.
1977. 97 is when we switched over from this D to the new one. So
that's right.
Yeah, no, super excited. Obviously, we're all repping our old school jerseys.
Oh yeah, and pajamas too. Hell yeah.
Pajama pants.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah. Oh, you know how we go.
Not often you get to see David's pajama pants on the live shows.
No, usually I'm not wearing anything on the bottom on the live shows, guys. So that's why you don't usually get to see that.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, against those Raiders uniforms specifically, which really haven't changed in like 50 years or whatever it is, it's gonna be hot. Yeah. All right.
Oh, man, I'm so excited.
Yes. Now let's talk about Bo Nix, because that's what Gary's wondering. That's what Broncos country is wondering. I think this is a really great question just right off the bat. Gary, I think if you listened again to the Pregame Podcast, we talked about Bo Nix as a guy who had reasons to struggle against the Jets. And, it was one of those things where sometimes you see a rookie quarterback rise above reasons to struggle and sometimes you don't. And that was the latter is what we saw. We expect him to perform a little bit closer today, like what he played against Tampa. We are hoping for that kind of output for him today because, you'd like to say it can't get worse than that Jets game, right? Especially with the weather conditions being what they were, especially with the players on this Raiders defense not being really, they're all NFL players, but they're not quite what the Jets have as far as weapons on that defense. And so, yeah, we do think the offense will get going today a little bit. Hopefully they commit to the run a little earlier in the game than they have in the past, because it's just going to help open up things for the offense so much. But I think Bo Nix does have a better day today, right, Jared?
Yeah, no, I agree. And if anything, the best part about this game specifically, and I'm glad it's the Raiders naturally, is that it fits our offensive style better. Their defense fits what we do on the offensive side. The kind of everyone's mad about the short dinks and dunks, right? The short stuff. Get the ball in the hands of our playmakers. Try to have them break a tackle and get upfield. That's where actually that is surprisingly where the Raiders have struggled is the short game. So they're going to have to switch up their entire defensive mentality going into this game as opposed to the other way around. And I think for the beginning of it, you're going to see probably I'm going to think that it's going to take us a little bit of time to get going because obviously the Raiders are going to come in and they're going to try to game plan against what we do. And I don't know if you're going to see a lot of big deep shots today, especially with the basically Cortland Sutton and then Josh Reynolds being kind of our only really deep receiver options. But
with Crosby in. Yeah,
Crosby
Terry
is in apparently.
Yes,
yeah,
he will play. He was questionable this week with that ankle injury, but yeah, he is going to go today. So yeah, I'm maybe with you there, Jared. The deep shot with Crosby in there against Alex Palchevsky's might not be a matchup they want to try and test too often, especially considering how much he's been a pain in the past.
Yeah, I just don't think we're going to try to take the time. I don't think we need to take the time, really. I think the short stuff, I think the other thing I'm really excited for is we're going to get the run game going. We saw it towards the end of that Jets game last week where we finally got to see Javonte Williams running like Javonte Williams of old. And if we can get the run game going, it'll open up more time for Bo Nix to be able to make decisions as opposed to just getting pummeled, knowing that we're going to throw 42 times. I'll say this. I hope we don't have to throw 42 times, anywhere north of 35 passes in this game. I think we could be able to control the clock with the ground game.
I feel like you're completely right about that. If Bo Nix has to throw it 42 times in this game, something went wrong. So guys, late breaking news, of course, for the inactives list for Denver today, no Greg Dulcich. It will be Lucas Krull coming up to play tight end for the Broncos today. Dulcich has had a fairly uninspiring start to the season. Krull, he's a guy that has flashed. He's also a guy that has showed that he's really, really young and super raw sometimes. So it is, kind of a gamble on getting a little bit more offensive spark from that position, I think.
Yeah, but the other thing that Krull gives you is the opportunity to run the ball. Greg Dulcich just is not the blocker that we are expecting him to be or wanting him to be. And I think with Krull in there, it could be a pass play or a run play. It's not like one of those like Dulcich is in. They're not running to his side kind of thought process from the defense. So a little bit of an advantage there. But yeah, I don't know as far as the passing game, how much we're really going to work him into it. I'd like to see it get worked into, especially like I said, we're going to be doing the short shots. The quick reads, the 1-2 reads, and I expect Bo Nix to probably take off for a few yards as well. If his 1-2 reads aren't there, he's probably going to end up taking off on the ground.
Well, and Raiders linebacker Divine Diablo is going to be out for this game, so yeah, they are missing some pieces. That Raiders team. Jared, we've talked a lot about the offense. What are you thinking about the Raiders defense, or I'm sorry, the Broncos defense as we get into this? And good question from Allison here. We're going to be going up against Gardner Minshew today. It looks like unless he gets run off the field by this Broncos defense and they have to put in Aiden O'Connell, their backup. What are you seeing, Jared? What are your matchup advantages on that side of the ball?
Yeah, just real quick talking to Allison's question here. I think at the beginning of the season, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, there was kind of like when they brought Gardner Minshew in, like who's going to be the starter. There was a little bit of a quarterback battle to decide who was going to be it. I don't think they're 100% sold on Gardner Minshew. I wouldn't be at 2-2. He's doing an okay job. And the one thing that Gardner Minshew does have is that when he's not pressured, he's got like a 99% quarterback rating. So he's actually doing a pretty good job not under pressure. We just need to be able to bring that pressure. So yeah, it'd be nice to see the Broncos run him off and make O'Connell be the starter for the rest of the season. As far as our defense, though, like we can't say enough good things about them, right? Like Vance Joseph has taken this defense of seemingly nobody on this defense, after we got rid of basically PS2 is the only person on this defense that's name worthy and outside of the Broncos organization and Broncos country. Everybody else is kind of like who are these guys? And somehow we're still a top 5 defense and we're just making plays and we're getting to the ball. The only thing I'd like to see this week specifically, and again, because it's the Raiders, is a couple more turnovers. We haven't had that many interceptions. We've had a few forced fumbles, which has been good, but I think an interception or two would be nice against Gardner Minshew to kind of solidify just this defense being an elite defense in the NFL.
That would be real nice. I think they can do it. I think they can pressure him because Gardner Minshew is definitely one of those guys who likes to think of himself as having a huge, a playmaking arm. And if you can get pressure on those guys, they'll make downfield mistakes if you give them the time. And with no Michael Mayer going, of course, no Devontae Adams going, we might see them try to load up a shot to Trey Tucker. We'll see. But if the pressure can get there, that could be a recipe for disaster for Gardner and crew. Gary, this is a good question. This game, it's still really early in the season, but it's pretty big. The Chargers are on their bye week this week. So whoever wins this game is in sole possession of second place in the AFC West, and whoever loses is in sole possession of last place. So you've got to take care of business in your division home games against what on paper is your weakest opponent.
Yeah, just to echo that a little bit, obviously there's 3 teams in the AFC West outside of the Kansas City Chiefs that are going to be battling for an extra playoff slot. Now, I'm not getting ahead of myself and saying that we're a playoff-worthy team, but at 2-2, right, I mean, there's a chance. And if you're talking about winning this game and now you have a leg up on the Raiders as we go forward and move forward, especially in their house, I think it'd be huge implications for the AFC West later on down the line. This is one of those games that we might see later down the road being like, man, if we could just have that game back if we lost it, or like, hey, we have the tiebreaker, we can do X, Y, Z at the end of the season to still be in that playoff running. So I think, again, yes, it's early in the season, but later on down the road, we're going to look back on this moment and be like, oh, I either should have, or, oh man, good thing we took care of business.
Yeah, absolutely right. And man, Broncos can get to a winning record today if they win this game. 3-2 going into a second straight home division game against the Chargers next week at your 3-2. That could be a real interesting spot. I mean, this could be a real interesting turning point in the season. This is a big one, guys. We've got to have this one today. And Jared, I don't know if you're looking on Twitter or anything like that, but the comments on these uniforms, my God, I'm seeing like the press on the field. Yeah, like, oh, man, they look so good. They look so
like the articles.
Good.
The articles across the board are like, man, the Broncos are just stealing. And not for nothing, I liked Houston's not throwback, but the uniforms that they're wearing today as they're playing right now, it's not bad. It looks good, but we are absolutely stealing their thunder 100%. It just looks so clean. And they're out there. It just looks so clean. Everyone's enjoying it. Hopefully it gives, look good, feel good, play good kind of mindset. Going into this game, and just love to see, especially if we against the Raiders. I love the choice from the front office to be this game in Las Vegas, it's in Denver. Sorry, my bad.
Mm-hmm.
Here at home in front of the home crowd, to be able to throw these throwback uniform on, stick it to the Raiders a little bit, and it's going to be so good to see that at the end of this game.
God, that would be nice, right? Like, come on, guys, you're going out there with the best uniforms in the NFL. By far this week. Just go do it. Just go win. Go beat the Raiders. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Yeah.
So we're going to go DB94. We brought this up already, but we'll say it again because I know some people have just joined in. Yes. Max Crosby is go. He is at least dressed to play this game. I would imagine that he's going to be on some sort of a snap count. I think having him come back for this game was strategic. He was limited in practice during this week, but they needed him for this game. And I think they know just as well as we do that without Max Crosby, this game could get out of hand really fast. They need him in this game, especially on the big plays, the third and mediums, third and longs. They need him to be able to get to the quarterback. So I would not be surprised if he's on some sort of snap count. You don't see him on first and second downs You see him on some of the bigger, need to make a stop type plays. But you never know. He might be fully healthy and just completely playing us.
Well, and that's exactly right. Now, to your suspicions there, Jared, the Raiders did elevate K'Lavon Chaisson to their active roster this week, another pass rusher for the Raiders. So it would not surprise me terribly if he is getting some of those snaps instead of Max Crosby on first and second downs. We will see about that. Yeah, no, Allison, there's no question about it. They're killing it today. Jared's in preseason form.
I'm back. I'm back. Yeah,
he's great. He's great. He was on a boat for a long time.
Long boats.
Long boats. Those were our nicknames in high school. Don't ask. It's not what you think. It's not, and what it is you don't need to know. Or. All right. Guys, more comments and questions. Bring it on, guys. We want to tailgate talk with you. We are here for another few minutes at the very least. And we're going to be here to talk the game. We're going to be here to allay your fears. Because, guys, listen, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, Jared. But, man, it feels like this is a really good matchup, right?
I mean, really, ultimately right now, this is probably the most comfortable. Again, I just got back, so this is great for me to come back to. Coming off a 2-game win streak, which is super nice. But I think the big part is I think this is the best that we felt as a team since the preseason, as far as going into a game where we know that we can win this game if we really just play our game. Even with a few mistakes, which it's going to happen in any NFL game. I think this is the game that we should be able to do it. I want to say if you're looking at all the stats and everything goes perfectly, we should be able to just wipe the floor with these guys. But I'm not getting ahead of myself because I know that this is still a Raiders game, right? It doesn't matter at any point. We could both be 0-4, or one could be 4-0 and the other could be 0-4, and it would still be a very difficult game to win just because of the rivalry and because of what we know each other as. But yeah, I think going back to this. We'll have our score predictions. If you've listened to the pregame podcast, this is very similar to what the rest of us were saying. 10 points for the Raiders was pretty much down the line of what we were thinking as well. Our defense is just.
I know. It's hot. Get in there, boys. And we talked about, again, not to puff up the pregame podcast too much, but it's quality listening and you guys should check it out. We talked about how this Broncos defensive line totally overwhelmed the Jets last week. And it doesn't look like the Raiders present the same kind of players, even relative to what the Jets were trotting out there in that game. It really does feel like we should be able to get pressure on Minshew from multiple angles on most plays. And if that happens, maybe this is this. You were talking about interceptions earlier. Maybe this is the game that the defense scores. Like maybe this is the game you see a defensive touchdown. That would not surprise me at all. I think they will, a strip sack, a fumble, something like that seems very, very likely to me today.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, right? We talked about this on the pregame. We're going to probably say this at least another million times on this show this morning, because we did the pregame podcast between the two of us and Scott and Spotty, but the number one special teams in the league is the Denver Broncos. And that's because of the ability of flipping the field with our punting game. The long field goals are obviously helping, but that punt game to be able to pin them back. He's had how many inside the 10 at this point this season? Like, it's just been absolutely ridiculous to be able to get down. Yeah. To be able to pin them back. And I think that was a big part of the Jets game. I think we pinned them on the one time and they just couldn't get out. They were just trying to protect themselves. And it put us into a scoring position because they had to get out of there. They couldn't, they punted it. We had good field position. So I think field position is going to be another good thing. If our defense can give Bo Nix, a 40-yard field to score, I think Bo Nix is going to have a better chance to score. So I'm going to transition that thought process, as I'm all over the place this morning, into our other prediction, and Bo Nix throws for multiple scoring touchdowns today.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And that is, I didn't quite join you on that one. I think my score prediction, I think, was like 17-9 or something. I think we see one step forward for the offense instead of 2 steps forward. I would love to see the Bo Nix breakout game, guys. Don't get me wrong. That would be fantastic. But, a lot of people are expecting it. And I love that, guys. I'll be over the moon if we get it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'll be happy with a Javonte Williams or Bo Nix multiple touchdown game. Like either one of those need to get going. I think it's a win for both everybody if either one of them ends up having multiple score games. I think Javonte Williams needs also have a really big breakout game. Coming off the injury, just hasn't had a great start to the season. You started to see him getting going in the end of the Jets game when we finally started running the ball pretty successfully. And I think this is the game to be able to do it. A couple big breaks, big runs, a couple strong runs. You saw him breaking tackles again, which we haven't seen since the injury at the end of that Jets game. So if either one of them can have a multiple scoring day, it's a win for the Broncos organization.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Well said, Jared. And Gary, your point here, I'm with you. For me, it just starts with winning your home games in the division, right? Just win when they come to your place, and after that, we'll see. They always seem to beat the Chargers in Denver, no matter how bad the Denver Broncos are. They always beat the Chargers in Denver, but they can't get past the Raiders. And last year they beat the Chiefs. It's time. Let's move this past this last team, right? Let's get there. Yeah. All right. So let's talk, just run around the league a little bit in early morning action. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers hurts his ankle in London today, and the Jets lose again. Speaking of quarterbacks who are terrible that are losing, the Commanders are putting it to the Browns right now, 31-6.
I'll tell you what, for rookie quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, man, I know we're not talking Broncos right now, and I'm sorry, but like, what a guy, dude. Talk about getting your guy and just being able to go out there and just play well early. He's been every single week. He has been impressing me. Even for a rookie, even for a top pick, I did not expect him to do what he has been able to do, especially against defenses like the Browns. And it's not like he's playing scrubs. He's playing very, very good teams, and he's just absolutely killing it. Other teams that are absolutely destroying their opponents, Carolina's getting stomped by the Bears, which is always
quarterbacks. Both the other two rookie quarterbacks having good days today. Then Caleb Williams, 30-10 over the Panthers. Those Bears are. That's pretty good. Yeah. And this, I'll tell you. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
This Bills Texans game has turned into quite something. I think the Bills were down 21-7 or something like that, and it's now 2017.
Yeah. The other game that's getting interesting too is Cincinnati Baltimore. Originally, Baltimore was just wiping the floor, and Cincinnati's come back. Cincinnati having a rough year, 0-4, I think, or 1-3.
Yeah.
They're having a rough start. Talking about coming off a Super Bowl a couple years ago. They're having a rough start to their season. So it's interesting to see that game played out too. But as we look into the afternoon games, right? So things to keep an eye on during our game is that Raiders Green Bay game. The Rams. Sorry, not Rams. Oh, why am I thinking Rams? The Rams Green Bay game is going to be fun to watch. But tonight's game or tomorrow night's game is Kansas City, New Orleans. Do the Chargers do they have a bye week this week?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, we win this game and we are in second in the AFC West. And then, obviously you have those undefeated Chiefs playing tomorrow night against New Orleans, who's also not having a terrible start to a season with all their new acquisitions. They're 2-2, but they're playing pretty well. If there's a team that could beat the Chiefs, it might be on Monday night. And we'll have to keep an eye on that as it plays out for the AFC West, especially depending on the results of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to be fascinated to see how that all shakes out. I'm a little bit disappointed that Kansas City is 4-1, but or 4-0, but that's the way that goes. All right, guys, back to this Broncos Raiders matchup. Give us your final thoughts. Give us your final questions. Give us your final uniform takes, because we all know. I mean, good Lord, I'm still watching the players just run out onto the field in the minutes. Now, guys, the field is going to be a little bit different today because they're also doing a recreation of the 1977 field. So they'll have the Broncos in blue, royal blue painted in the end zone with the white letters, nothing else, and no midfield logo, which is period accurate. So that's going to be interesting. And so, Gary, I think we all predict a step forward for Bo Nix this week, right? It just depends on how big of one. Will he continue to be sack free and interception free? If he takes a sack or two with Max Crosby in there, whatever. I'm not gonna. But if he's turning the ball over, that's something else. So let's see if we can keep the interceptions to zero, if we can keep the fumbles to zero, and build on that. That's what I'll really be looking for.
Yeah, I think the big thing that all of us are looking for is just step forward. First couple games, real rough for him. Tampa Bay game, you finally started seeing him show some light. And then that Jets game, we're kind of chopping it up to a anomaly with the rain and everything. And he couldn't get the ball going. He was shot putting the ball a couple times, which was disappointing to see. But ultimately, I think we just want to see him take that step forward. And yeah, will it be mistake-free? Probably not mistake-free. But are those mistakes going to be big enough to make a change in the game, right? Like you can have a missed throw, right, where you miss your receiver, but if it's missed because you threw it to the other guy, it's a bigger penalty. Yeah, it's a bigger penalty than just being able to not hit the open wide receiver. So that's what I want to see out of him. I do want to see him take a couple more risks, and I know this is kind of going back and forth. I feel like a flip-flopper here. I want to see him take a couple risks, specifically with Courtland Sutton, and I know why he's not. He's trying to play mistake-free football, get the ball down. That's every coach says it, right? If you feel like you're risking it, don't risk it. But there's times when we probably should be looking downfield a little bit more, and he's just taking the safe out. Again, with this Raiders team, that's an okay mentality, because that's the way that these Raiders have been getting destroyed out throughout the season, is the short stuff. So we just need to be able to, if we're successful with it, then I'm not going to be mad. If we're not being successful, if we're getting, 0 yards after catch because we're throwing 2 yards down the field and he's getting hit right away, that we need to start looking upfield and looking maybe some towards Lucas Kroll or something over the middle.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those are, you want to see the Broncos open up their offense a little bit if they can. It's got to be that time of the season where your quarterback should be able to do a little bit more and a little bit more, even as a rookie. I think we'll see some good stuff, guys. I don't know if it's going to be exactly where you want it to be, but I think we'll see a real improvement over what we saw last week. Jared, how's the weather out in California? Because, man, it's going to be like 78 today and ridiculously sunny. What's up out there?
You guys have California weather right now. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at 90 today, 90 and sunny. And we're talking mid-October, like early October, 90 and sunny. So you guys, it sounds amazing. I can't wait to come back and be able to enjoy that fall weather. But I think again, this goes back to how did we look in Tampa Bay, right? I don't know. What was the weather like in Tampa Bay? It was pretty decent, right? It was normal.
It's hot, but it was, it's Tampa Bay hot. So
yeah. So if we could see that Tampa Bay offense, the way that they operate out there, being translated here at home, feeling good in the good uniforms, it just all the things are lining up for a great game, and everybody being on the same page. We can't get down ourselves. If we make a mistake, we can't let it fester. We got to come out and play our game, and keep that good feeling rolling. Because right now, I don't think it's just us. I think the players and the coaches are in the same position. Like, they're feeling good about this game. Let's keep it going throughout the entire game, so that we can walk away with this thing with a win and look back on it and go like, yes, that was the game we wanted to watch. I'm jealous for the people that get to be there. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm so jealous for those that are going to the game day.
I had an opportunity to go. It was pretty tempting. It was a little bit too expensive. I understand why. My gosh, though. It's gonna be such an atmosphere today. Jerry, thank you so much for coming in at the end here. And guys, our final thoughts as we wrap up the show. It's just kind of variations on a theme, right? We think this is a really good opportunity for the Broncos offense to get going. We think this is a really good chance for the Broncos defense to keep feasting. We think this is just a chance overall for the Broncos to come out with a decently comfortable win. And hopefully they can do that and show us that they are a team, still a young team, but a team that's taking steps forward, right?
Yeah. Let's see what a young team who hasn't been favored very much this season. Everybody's been counting us out the entire year. We're actually favored for this game. We have the momentum. We have the personality. We have the uniforms, and I'm going to keep mentioning this to match. This is the first time that we're kind of ahead of it, as opposed to being like, oh, we have to dig our way into being talked about. We're now being talked about, and I think that this is the first time that we're going to be able to see what we can do when we're on the other side of it, as opposed to being the underdog. We're the favorites, and seeing if we can operate this at the same level that we have been all season, at least the last 2 games.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining Denver Broncos Tailgate Talk. The fellas will be back with the post-game podcast. You'll hear from Kevin and John tomorrow, I believe. And, of course, we will all be back with the Tuesday night Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS show. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe there. We will have a bunch of content for you basically every day. Go ahead, Jared.
Don't miss the original halftime show right here. Orange Weekly is the home of the original halftime show where we come on. You'll see me today, and we'll get to talk about what we saw in the first half and have a good conversation about what we expect, what we saw, and what we're going to be going into in the second half. It's always a good time. I love it. It's rapid pace, fast pace, rapid fire questions. So bring your questions, bring your comments to that halftime show right here. I'll start it right as halftime is starting.
One way or another, we will have thoughts about this game at halftime. Guys.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, definitely check us out there. And I don't think that there is anything left to do, Jared, except to end it, as we always do, on a very strong. Go Broncos. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Enjoy the game.